Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today's webinar, Smart Buildings are Healthy Buildings. My name is Luz Alvarez, and I am Channel Marketing Manager here at Rogers, and I'm serving as your host as moderator for this webinar. Before we start, a few housekeeping items. All attendees will remain in listen-only mode through the duration of the webinar. You should have a control panel on your webinar display screen. At any time during this webinar, feel free to submit your questions in the chat. Our presenters will be happy to answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. Our Q&A will last approximately 10 minutes. This webinar will be recorded and will be shared with you. Now, let's start. It's a great privilege to me to welcome all our speakers today. Rupesh Patel, Director of IoT Product Management at Rogers, brings over 15 years of experience offering a unique perspective that help customers unleash and untap potential of smart solutions in their space. We also have Paige Coffey, Director of Sales at Neurotechnology. She also has helped to foster partnerships with enterprise companies, providing everything needed for smart cleaning and hygiene in the commercial buildings. We also have been joined by Bud Doadiging, co-founder and VP Energy Efficiency at IS Adventures, brings over 25 years of experience where he helped develop and integrate energy solutions as a turnkey approach and has a substantial acknowledge in the industry. In today's presentation, they will be sharing with us the different solutions that can help building and run more efficiency. Before I pass the floor to Rupesh, we would like to acknowledge our land. The land acknowledge is a way that we are raising awareness of indigenous presence and their traditional territory in everyday life. Together, we are on a journey of reconciliation and continue to build an inclusive workplace for indigenous people. The Toronto is the dish of one spoon territory. The dish of one spoon is treated between the Anishinaabe Mississaugas as the Hushubi, that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Suspect indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans and all newcomers have been invited into the treaty to the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. And now, with not further ado, take it away, Rupesh.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it. And good afternoon, everyone. I am really excited to welcome you all to our Healthy Buildings webinar today. It's an exciting space for Rogers for Business. We've seen our countless of our customers, reach out to understand more about this space. And in general, we have two amazing speakers, Paige and Bob, who will take you through some solutions and share their thought leadership in this space. But when we look at the trends in the built environment, if we take a step back, we understand that, and we've acknowledged that organizations have predominantly focused on a few key areas, such as driving efficiency across their real estate operations, reducing costs, which is a key factor to generating a positive bottom line, but at the same time trying to be sustainable, helping contribute to the environment, and for the future generations, but ultimately all of this leading to a positive occupant experience. After all, with our buildings are there to house occupants, whether this is to work, play, live within. And without occupants, organizations unfortunately will not be able to sell their space, lease their space, and this will ultimately affect their revenue. But the COVID pandemic, and as much as we're reaching back to a space of normality, although we are still living with COVID, has placed a renewed focus on the theme of healthy buildings, but not only from an organizational perspective, but also from employees. Organizations are taking this so seriously that when they are looking to make decisions around where to lease next, what property to purchase, they are becoming more favorable towards buildings that have smart technology built in that promote a healthy internal environment. Employees who are returning to the office, be it for a day, few days a week, or permanently, are looking to understand how are their employers utilizing smart technology to create a safe and healthy building environment. And this obviously ultimately has an impact on talent retention and attraction. The up and coming workforce, approximately 61% of them, are looking for buildings that have some sort of smart technology. This is how they live their lives with technology in hand day in and day out, and they expect technology to help them in their productivity. But over and above this, over the last 2 years, we've seen various pandemic mitigation strategies being put in place, such as antiviral coating to frequently contacted high touch surface areas. And we've also seen the increase in touchless technologies, from light switches to faucets through to, door and gate controls. However, all these various mitigating actions that have helped in the short run, they focus on a very specific and niche part of the building. They don't take into account the entire building environment and how that as a building operator, building owner, we can ensure that we are creating a safe and healthy environment for ourselves and our occupants. We all know, and it's acknowledged that the COVID virus has been, is of airborne nature. And, there is fears in the market today of future pandemics, future viruses that could come down the line. And we live this life again of lockdowns and, questions around our building environment. Is the air that I'm breathing in healthy and safe? So all of this has resulted in a renewed focus on the building's HVAC systems. For example, we have organizations who are looking to implement high performance air filters or put in bipolar ionization air filtering solutions. And there can be, various other technologies that I can list on for days on end. However, all of these have the goal to ensure that, they can help create that a healthy air environment, potentially alleviate any airborne transmission, or prevent cross infection between individuals. But the pandemic is not the only driver of why we need smart technology in the buildings. This has led to individuals starting to question and understand the environment around them. How do, for example, wildfires, which are becoming increasingly frequent, play an impact or impact my air quality internally? How long does this wildfire air particles, stay within my building, affecting me personally? So solutions such as indoor air quality, which you'll hear more about today, are starting to play a key role in helping building owners and operators get the data insights they need to run their buildings more effectively. Now, having all these strategies and solutions are good. However, without sensors, without data, without the real-time insights, organizations will always struggle to operate with confidence. Long gone are the days where we measure air quality once a year. Now at Rogers, our goal is to enable a data-driven buildings of tomorrow. From smart surveillance with built-in AI technology through to digital access control and signage management, we have and continue to build a robust ecosystem that has helped our customers on their digital transformation journeys. Over the last few years, there have been many lessons learned for the built environment, from how do we adapt existing buildings in mitigating against pandemic scenarios, to rethinking and driving change in the approach of how we design, construct, operate new buildings that are being constructed. One thing is clear though, investing in data-driven assets will lead to healthy experiences for everyone. The additional level of insight and control offered by smart technology is not only environmentally friendly, not environmentally positive, helps with resource and energy reduction, but will also lead to more resilient and sustainable real estate that will be ready for the challenges of tomorrow. So I'm really excited to hear what Bob and Paige have in store for us today. And with that, I hand over back to Liz to take us through the next speaker.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Rupesh. That was super interesting. And it's incredible how many things we can be doing with such a great technology and everything in place. So now we're gonna have it to Bob that I believe is have more interesting things to do it. Take it away, Bob.
Thanks very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Ironically, I'm speaking to you while having COVID, which brings a personal element to this whole discussion. Very happy to continue the conversation and dialogue that I know we've been having for the past 3-4 years, even prior to COVID making things obvious to all. A little bit about IES Ventures. We are IES standing for Integrated Ecosystem Solutions. We were developed basically to make sure that a client could have and explore all energy saving opportunities within their buildings. That led to us developing intelligent solutions, usually around lighting, and then evolved into indoor air quality. Those are the two largest concerns that have been tenants have described over the last 20 years. So we started with the low-lying fruit, which is lighting. How do we take a look at lighting? How do we make the technology better? How do we employ the technology? And then how do we know that that technology is the most efficient it can be? We evolved that over the last 15 years. And then it also made us very, very proficient in applying sensors and monitors simply to make sure that the goals were being met. So we fast forward to the last 2-3 years, and we've taken that expertise, that applied knowledge, and we've we've expanded it into virtually every area. So we now take a look at any energy saving opportunity. It's evolved into HVAC, it's evolved into other building systems, and it has allowed us to be really experts on behalf of clients to make sure that we provide the appropriate solutions, we provide the appropriate leadership, and we ensure that IES is really letting people know that their particular solution or their particular concern is being addressed. How do we do that? Next slide. Well, we have an approach that we think is very effective, and it's been proven out in a number of instances. Where do we start? Well, we have watched all kinds of approaches to improving the performance of a building, which of course usually results in energy reduction solutions. So we said, okay, let's do things like manual audits. So for a long time, we did manual audits. We've since automated them, and we've employed solutions that give a start not only to what your goals are and what your priorities are, but making sure that we understand what is the as-is picture. So here we take a look at, let's monitor first. After we do a preliminary investigation, we take a look at what's the best way to monitor. Well, this particular piece of hardware that's being shown is state of the art, and we'll get into that, but we need to have indications that are not just related to the HVAC and the flow and the performance, but also other elements that give us insights into building performance and healthy buildings. So let's find out what the as-is picture is, and let's look at that over a period of time. What do we assess? We take a look at things like formaldehyde, which is associated with, you may have heard the term volatile organic compounds. Those are a lot of the things that off-gas inside a commercial building or a mixed-use building. So we look at that element. We look at carbon monoxide, obviously a concern if the levels get high. Ozone, there are strategies out there that are being employed that may create unhealthy levels of ozone. So we've got to make sure that we assess those. Any harmful nitrates and sulfates, and many, many more things outside of that traditional CO2 sensing is what that particular monitor and platform will assess. Next slide. We try and take a look at and distinguish filtration and purification when it comes to indoor air quality monitoring. So why does that matter? Well, we tried to do that with finger puppets and that didn't work too well. So we have a visual here that says, okay, what makes sense when it comes to filtration? What makes sense when it comes to purification? We started with the human hair because most people know what that looks like. And then we go down from there. So filtration will capture particles. There's no doubt about that. But when you get down to respiratory droplets and things that are under 10 units, you're going to require some sort of purification strategy on top of what's been recommended in filtration. So we wanted to give you some examples. Dust particle being 2.5, then you get into bacterium, the particulate from wildfire smoke, the coronavirus, which we're all very familiar with, and even smaller bacterium and viruses. Next slide. How do we do this? Well, we took a look again at some sort of visual that'll allow you to see that HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning are pretty good in buildings. There's no doubt about that. And they use filtration or filters to make sure that you're getting circulated air along with fresh air in a mix that gives you what they would call good indoor air to breathe. If you go and think back to some of those particulates and very, very small pathogens, something more is required. The various guidelines have been increase air, increase filtration, and increase fresh air introduction. Well, all of those do two things that are have kind of negative outcomes. If you increase the filtration, you're going to either have to modify your system itself so that you drive more air into a greater resistance, or you're going to have to change your system altogether, which increase costs. If you're going to push greater amount of air through more resistance, again, that's going to create more energy consumption and not a desired outcome. And then increasing fresh air circulation is also an increase in both energy and cost to a building owner and manager. So we take a look at, okay, let's look at what's existing. That's great. Use that filtration, use that air circulation, and let's introduce another supplement to it. And that's what you hear about the term air purification. So air purification uses various methodologies, but it basically creates a ionized air, which will attach itself to pathogens and render them inert. Next slide. I've talked to you about the overall overview of the strategies, but how do we know they're working? Well, we put together a series of sensors that will be placed strategically, not just in the circulation, the HVAC circulation, but also in the air that you breathe. In this particular slide, we take a look at we would place sensors and monitors right near where people are populated so that we get a real-time, accurate presentation of what is going on with your indoor air. This particular platform is associated with that monitor that we showed you. And this particular platform in real time will be uploading data. The platform will tell you on whatever mode you want to use. In this case, it's a handheld iPhone. It will let you know exactly what's going on with those various elements that we want to monitor. So, in real time, whether it's a manual adjustment or a semi-automatic adjustment or an automatic adjustment, you will be able to manage your building in real time and do what's appropriate. Oftentimes we hear that there's various strategies being contemplated, but they really don't know whether it's working or not, or they know it's working at a point in time, but they don't know that it's working every day, every moment of every day. And so that it becomes a reactionary thing. Somebody has to complain or some other sort of indicator. This way, you're being proactive. And there's just an example here. It says, carbon dioxide alert. Well, okay, that's great. Tells me there's certain parts per million, but is it telling me what to do? It's saying carbon dioxide concentration in this area has exceeded the recommended threshold. Please introduce fresh air to this space. So not only is it giving you data, it's also giving you recommendations. Next slide. So we have limited time. I could go on forever, but I do want to give you an example of something to think about that, yes, we do have all of the solutions, but without creating the appropriate monitoring, the appropriate sensing, you are going to really be having a shotgun approach versus a rifle approach. And you may be spending money you don't need to spend. So what does integrated energy solutions do? Well, we broke it down into these particular benefits. We're helping you align your operational strategies with your corporate goals. That's been difficult to do in the past. We're providing those tools that we just outlined that we can actually monetize emission reduction strategies. And we make it simple to attain your sustainability goals. Some of the reports that you get and some of the customization we do will actually help you with your GHG reporting and any carbon offset that you contemplate. We have very, very good past success, and we've dealt with all kinds of clients, from a one-person restaurant to AT&T, for instance. We do want to emphasize this is an agnostic approach. We are not married to any particular system. We're not married to any particular manufacturer. We go out and find the best, using our expertise and experience, solution for your particular requirement. And we don't sell you anything more than you absolutely need. And that's because we actually guarantee the result. So we're one of the few that do a complete turnkey, and anything that we recommend, we will make sure that it is aligned with your goals, the savings that we assure you of, and being able to either have it as a capital expense or an operating expense. And then lastly, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. We do take a fair amount of time and apply our expertise immediately to do remote audits and then comprehensive audits as required. Next slide. Again, just to emphasize versus our competitors, what we are providing. That monitor that I've shown you a picture of has what's called reset certification. It is the most stringent certification, and it deals with not just a point in time. It doesn't deal with recalibration. It is, you must maintain that level of accuracy in your sensors over time. So there are very few, there's all kinds of sensors out there. Very few sensors have that kind of level of accuracy. And regardless of whether we do something with you or not, we would encourage you to take a look at that. The predictive analytics, the platforms that we utilize all give you some sort of predictive analyzing, right down to the point of, again, I alluded to manual, semi-automatic, or automatic application of those analytics. We also measure outdoor air quality to make sure that your indoor air quality concerns, if at a point in time this becomes an issue, that it's not because of an outside factor, so that you're not trying to run around changing things if it's just an outdoor anomaly and it's incidental. We constantly make indoor air quality improvement recommendations, and as technology improves and as we can apply better, faster, greater amounts of data and data analysis and algorithms and our AI, we constantly work with you to improve the ability to create not only a healthy building, but a cost-effective management tool. Our reporting tools are comprehensive, they can be customized, and these reporting tools will make sure that they are useful to you in your particular requirement, whether it is in one building, several buildings across North America, or if you're isolated and you need to know something about a building across the country immediately. We do work very closely with optimizing energy and HVAC opportunities. We do index any kind of scores so that we go against the benchmarking of recognized third-party indices. And we do strongly recommend needlepoint bipolar ionization because in our research and our applications, we find it to be the most effective and cost-effective. Next slide.
Awesome, Bob. Thank you very much. That's been super interesting. And one of the things I just gonna remind to our attendees that you can put your questions on our chat box and we're gonna be responding. So one of the things that I want to ask you, Bob, and I think that, of course, as you guys were saying with the COVID situation, what is the difference between the air purification unit and the portable air purification unit? So how is that more efficiency and beneficial for us and our health, right?
Great question. Air purification units that are inserted into ducting or whatever do one thing and one thing only, and they do it very well. They work with the filtration that's in an existing building. If you take a portable unit, what it's trying to do is all of those things, filtration and purification in a very small footprint. And oftentimes it becomes less effective. It degrades very quickly. And it is actually quite costly to be able to maintain it properly by replacing 4 or 5 different stages of filtration, as well as either UV bulbs or those sorts of things.
Awesome. We have also a question on the chat that is, can you share more information about the type of sensors you use? Do they need to be permanently installed? If not, how long do you need the sensors deployed for the collect enough data for analysis? Do they need to be connected to the power source or any IT integration? So let's start with the sensor part. This is a very kind of like big questions, right? So let's see what type of sensors you guys use and if they need to be permanently installed.
Well, if you talk about indoor air quality sensors, most of them don't have to be permanently installed. There are some that are battery operated, and there are some that do require either a low voltage connection or a 120 connection. Just depends on what particular sensor we're deploying. But no, they don't have to be permanently installed. We also tend to look at the electrical sensing, and in that case, the good news there, those kinds of sensors now don't need to be, it's not an expensive or intrusive type of sensor. Now they can just be wrapped around a load. So it really depends on the sensor.
Awesome. So that means that if they don't need to be permanently installed, how time they need to be collecting that data?
Yes, we tend to look at, again, what the concerns are. If it's universal, we'll look at public access areas, we'll look at lunchrooms, we'll look at lobbies, we'll look at large meeting rooms, places where people congregate. That tends to be a priority in terms of sensing indoor air quality. There may be some other areas that they're concerned. We'll deploy them there. And we like to have minimum 30 days, but ideally a couple of seasons So, you know, the indoor air quality and density of people in a building will change from summertime to fall to winter. So we'd like to have at least 2 seasons and recommend that.
Awesome. So these devices, they need to be cleaned at all, like in terms of like filter in the monitoring device.
In the monitoring device, no, although I alluded to the sensor itself. In the one that we showed you, they actually are a cartridge, and that cartridge is changed every 2 years. It's part of the service, so it's not something that you have to look at as a cost, but that maintains that accuracy over time. And I would encourage that when you hear about sensors being recalibrated, that's a totally different um, uh, exercise than to actually maintain the accuracy of a sensor.
Awesome. And we have another questions around here. How are these connected? Wireless? And if so, what are the protocols that they use?
Well, they are wireless. The protocols that we use really depend on what the security concerns are, the IT concerns are, the building architecture itself, and whether we're working with one building or several buildings.
So this is part of what you were talking about, the part of the customization and kind of like sit with you and Rupesh and everybody to see what is really the needs of the customer to finally give them that piece that is completely for them, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I think that right now we are not seeing more questions on the chat, but again, if during the webinar you guys have any other questions regarding the same, so just please put it under the chat, and we will be happy to answer. We're gonna be answering on the chat, so we can also provide like the privacy. And Bob, thank you very much for being with us today. And even though you were hitting with the COVID, and hopefully give you such good recovery.
Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
And now we are passing to Paige. Hi, Paige. The floor is yours.
So fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody, on this beautiful Wednesday. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to spend it with us here to learn a little bit more about the journey of healthy buildings and how Rogers for Business can help support along with their vendor partners. So for me, I am the Director of Sales here at Miro Technologies. We're a Canadian owned and operated IoT company that's been around for about 5 years, focusing in the beginning specifically with commercial real estate. And then of course, understanding our sort of trademark is the busier, the bigger, the better. So wherever there's people, Miro is there to help. Next slide, Liz, please, thanks. So, you know, our focus really is providing a healthy environment in a number of different facilities so that we get better productivity, better transparency, and a better understanding of how our building is working internally and how that it directly impacts our visitors, our clients, and our tenants. And, you know, really our mission really is, you know, to foster a beautiful, healthy, and sustainable environment for all. And so in the 5 years that we've been sort of at this, obviously COVID catapulted us into, you know, a new realm, shall we say. And so, you know, some of our customers, obviously we work with commercial real estate, but then also on the cleaning part and having partners with your business service contract cleaners that really, you know, are the bread and butter and the livelihood of our facilities at the end of the day. Next slide, Liz. So, you know, we in particular, when we talk about the smart washroom aspect, so really focusing on the cleanliness and hygiene of a building through understanding traffic, understanding where people are going in your building, being able to prioritize based on that real-time analytics that's coming in, to be able to focus on those areas that need it the most for that cleanliness to take place. But in going through this journey for the last 5 years, and we're in over 120 buildings, we cover about 20 million square feet, 10,000 sensors between Canada and the US. Because we sort of have this plug and play approach, ease of installation, we're also able to go global. And through these conversations and surveys and research and data and statistics and really understanding what the needs are when we talk about, in particular, smart buildings, 3 key challenges come up. One of them is obviously, as you know, the demands on cleaners has never been more greater than it is today and will continue to be at the forefront. So how do we deal with the challenges of a higher minimum wage? We're struggling with turnover and actual staffing, and we really need to figure out a way to be able to do more with less. So how can we solve for that? Second is obviously this varying occupancy. And, Bob mentioned it as well. Occupancy and understanding what's happening in real time in your facility can create a number of benefits that show efficiencies and in return those potential savings. So getting down to a level of granularity that can really not only help with creating a dynamic cleaning schedule for your cleaning teams, but also using that data to be able to understand where's the most efficient places or most popular places so that we can pump the indoor air quality when we need to and pull back when there's nobody there. And then, of course, the sustainability story that is at the forefront, right? So it's never going to go away. It's just how much of an impact do you want as an organization? So understanding that whether it's your certifications for LEED, BOMA Best, we're now talking about GBAC, WELL, FitWell. All of these certifications are coming out that are looking for a bigger picture, not just the sustainable story, but the entire environment in which people are working. So how can we help with that? And then, of course, communication and transparency. This is really, at the end of the day, what smart building vendors, manufacturers are doing is providing you with accurate real-time information, trends, analytics, to be able to understand the whole ecosystem of your facility. That brings out those challenges and issues that you may not have been able to see, monitor, or understand, and understanding if there's any trends that are going along with that. And then being able to communicate and actually make decisions with much more data and confidence that can be long lasting. So how does Miro do that? Next slide, Liz. So we focus on being both a hardware and a software platform. We make and manufacture our own sensors. They're patented. A number of the manufacturing actually takes place here in Canada. And we're monitoring 3 critical points within a building. One is the supply sensing. So towel, tissue, soap, sanitizer, garbage waste levels, and being able to talk about that sustainability story. And again, one of the things about smart buildings is not necessarily are you seeing an ROI right away. Well, with our supply sensing side of the business, we're able to see that ROI quite quickly, usually within about 3 to 6 months. So that payback becomes much more advantageous. The second piece is our traffic sensing. Like I said, getting down to a level of granularity to the desk, if that's what you desire, to understand, has somebody been there? Has the cleaner then been there to clean? When we talk about hybrid models of returning to work, hoteling, hotspotting, we want to be able to provide as much information as your tenants are requiring or as much as information as you want to share. And then, of course, cleaner wayfinding, being able to validate with confidence that the cleaners are cleaning based on where they need to be in real time, which is occupied space, and then being able to validate and give confidence to your tenants and your customers that, you wanted this area to be cleaned 5 times a day. Well, we can now validate and prove that out versus, the good old-fashioned clipboard on the back of the door that somebody had to write in. One of the things that is a big differentiator for us as well is that we really are working closely as a partnership with our cleaning companies, and we're not asking the cleaners to do any more work. This is to simply follow the process. We're not asking you to scan a QR code, enter anything manually. We just want you to focus on your task at hand and be rewarded for the work that you're doing. Next slide. So let's get to the fun part. How does this work? Well, it's a simple peel and stick sensor about the size of a business card when we're talking about the supply sensing. Battery operated, lasts about 3 years. We use BLE to share the signal, and we use LoRa to help extend the range. and it's monitoring the thresholds of the consumable. Another big differentiator for us is that we're agnostic to the dispenser. So we're agnostic to the dispenser and the product that's going within it. So if it's Torque, Kimberly-Clark, Cascades, whether it's hard round, multifold, high capacity, we're able to monitor the levels. We can customize that threshold level to whatever your needs are. So let's say, for example, 10%. Once that threshold hits 10% left of the product, we send an alert to the cleaner in real time, letting them know what and where things need to be changed. How we send these alerts can be done in a couple of different ways, again, providing flexibility to the reality of the cleaning team. Not everybody has been as innovative and technically savvy as we'd like them to be. It's a journey, as we know, but we want to be on that journey with them. So whether it's an SMS text on their phone, whether it's an email to the supervisor, and then at that point, the supervisor uses the good old-fashioned walkie-talkie and dispatches the alerts to the appropriate cleaner in the area. And from just having to wait for the alert and changing that slight behavior of the cleaner to say, I don't want you to just go into the washroom just for the sake of going in the washroom. I don't want you to clean just for the sake of cleaning. I want you to prioritize your cleaning and create a dynamic schedule based on real-time occupancy. Focus on the areas that need it most, and let's reallocate that time back to do other scopes of work. So when we talk about our traffic or our occupancy, again, it can be, I just want to know how many people are in my building, to not only do I want to know how many people are in my building, but I want to know where they're hanging out. Where are they going throughout the course of a day within the building? And then again, even getting down to the granularity level of, was there people in this conference room, your cafeteria, your kitchen, and again, down to the potential desk. Same concept can apply where we set a threshold to the number of people that go into that area. And once that threshold is hit, we send an alert to the cleaner to let them know to now go clean this area. So again, creating that dynamic schedule based on real-time analytics and being able to do more with less. Next slide. And of course, the cleaner wayfinding. So being able to, again, respect privacy and security of our cleaners and our teams, again, especially in a unionized environment, where it just is a little fob, a tile that goes on their keychain that they carry anyways. We're only monitoring the cleaners in the area where the Miro platform is. So again, just focusing on those high priority areas where we need to be able to audit or validate that they've been cleaned. And really being able to, again, provide that critical information that allows them to be agile and efficient. Next slide. So with our dashboard, of course, we're collecting all this information from our sensors. We, of course, want to be able to provide insights and view into that information. So for example, what you see here is a visibility into a cleaner's log, basically the schedule of what they've done during a shift. And so as you can see here, we're able to show where the cleaner was, what task they were doing, how long they were in that washroom for or that particular area, which again helps to validate a clean, and then their average response time to the alert. So we can actually send up performance metrics that we can either reward or provide a learning opportunity for our cleaning team as well. Next slide. And of course, this last component that we talk about, which is transparency and communication, letting our tenants and customers know all the great things we're doing to bring them back to public spaces with confidence and safety. And one of those ways is through Miro Comfort. This allows you to share information quite easily about a particular area. And it can either be something that you see here, which is a tablet up front of the washroom, for example, providing basic information like green is good, come on in, it's been cleaned, the last time it was cleaned, supply levels are good, and how many people have been into that area since it was last cleaned. And again, we really pride ourselves on that privacy and security. So again, none of this is an app that they need to download on their phone. Again, it's all web-based. Next slide. Or again, like you see here, if you don't want to have a tablet, your simple tenant, customer, client can look it up on their phone and just, again, comfort.miro.co and find all of that same information that you can find on the tablet that we talked about. This can also be integrated into an existing tenant portal. We have an open API. And again, one of the things that is a differentiator for us is our ease of integration. So as an organization or a portfolio or a building is doing and beginning this smart building journey with your entire ecosystem of vendors, we're able to grow along with them. So whether they use us as their single pane of glass, or once they figured out what they want to do, then we're able to then sort of plug into their own platform and be able to share that information how they see fit. So we have flexibility. Next slide. So yeah, this is just sort of overall. So we're collecting pings from our sensors, which are be able to give us that information. We're then sending that information to the cleaners so that in real time they're able to act upon it, as well as building facility managers or operations so that they too can get the benefit of creating efficiencies throughout the entire building or complex, and then being able to share that information on an easy to digest dashboard. We, with partnering with Rogers, really try to take a consultative approach. Next slide for me, Liz, where we want to be able to push the right information to you. So what we're able to do is provide customized reporting based on information that you want out of the Miro system. So for example, these are some reports that we're currently doing for our customers. So whether it's the sustainability story on this far left, telling you what's the busiest washrooms, who's using the most amount of toilet paper, and again, being able to understand that maybe this washroom on this floor is the busiest, so let's make sure the janitor's closet is stocked. Or again, if we're talking about garbage levels and sustainability, we want to understand how many rolls have been saved or how many rolls have been wasted and be able to advertise that and be able to improve on that when necessary. And then again, the other two are just different ways that we share our information about traffic and occupancy, and then as well, cleaner performance metrics. So just to talk about some case studies. So like we talked about that ROI, with smart buildings, sometimes there's not a huge ROI. It seems like it's such a big investment, but you'll see these efficiencies, it's just going to take some time. Whereas with Miro, we seem to be an easy entry point into this journey. One, because washrooms are such a priority and everybody uses them at least once or twice a day. So we have that heavy traffic flow and it is an area of concern. But again, from a consumable side, we're able to, again, see that ROI quite quickly in under a year. So here's some examples of some of our customers. So for example, Toronto Pearson Airport, it was travel time in the parking garage areas. The washrooms were, 10 to 20 minutes apart. So we were able to install our traffic sensors to be able to provide real-time analytics to the cleaning company to be like, you don't have to go to this particular washroom because nobody's been in it since the last time you cleaned. So why not reallocate that travel time to another task? And again, being able to do more with less. And that's what we were able to do, where we were able to create labor efficiency of over 20%, and then being able to then divert at least 450 rolls from landfill. And again, having that ROI of being able to pay for Miro plus, plus, plus on a 10x return. So pretty impactful story. Next slide. This is also another use case. This is a large 1.5 million square foot building in Toronto. Same idea that Bob says, where we sort of set a baseline that we can compare Miro to. So we like to collect data for about 30 days. That data is just our sensors in the dispensers without turning on the alerts, because we want to provide cleaning for the staff so that they understand the Miro system, how it can benefit them, and then create that baseline. So that's where we were seeing, rolls being pulled out of dispensers with upwards of like 50 to 60% on them. So that good old stub roll story, and then providing training to the cleaners to say, hey, listen, not only are we able to save you time that you don't have to go and check every single dispenser, which we know can be about 20% of their shift. You now know specifically where to go and when and what needs to be refilled. And then that savings alone is upwards of about 35% just on the consumable. So big story to be told there. So again, just overall, we are proprietary to our sensors. We really pride ourselves in taking a consultative approach and creating efficiencies, not just on the building's point of view, but those key areas that are important, which of course is sustainability and that cleanliness that we want to share with our visitors. And then being able to be accessible and integratable with other platforms and other vendors so that we can, again, benefit the building even that much more and build on the data depending on where the journey is at with our customers. And then, of course, our ease of use and that plug and play approach definitely helps us to be sort of a starting point. Next slide.
Awesome. Paige,
Well, that's it.
That's it. But you know what? Like, it's very interesting to see how, and correct me if I'm wrong, but how Nero is able to kind of like a smarter kind of like moving. If this washroom is clean, let's go to this other one that is not that clean because it's more people going there. So I have a question for you. Does Neo provide a smart washroom for the portable washrooms, like for events or for the construction sites, right? That is just kind of like 1 minute there or so, like they are just gonna be there for a period of time. Do you guys also provide that solution for those kind of like the portable washrooms?
Right, great question. So we do set ourselves up to, we need a network, right? We need some sort of wireless network, cellular network in order to get the information to the cloud to be able to do our analytics and then send it into the dashboard. So as long as we have access to the internet or to Wi-Fi, we can potentially do the portables. We just want to make sure that they're, occupied, heavily occupied spaces. That's really where our main focus is. And as long as we can get a cellular network, pretty much anything's possible.
Awesome. What do you think is being kind of like the biggest challenge for the property managers? Like what they are facing with these all cleaning standards and all this stuff, like based on your experience, what being that biggest challenge for them?
So I think it's twofold. One is being able to validate that the building is being cleaned, right? So actually having data to say to their tenants that this area has been cleaned. And then really communicating to the tenants everything that they want to provide or are able to provide to, again, give them confidence in coming back to the office. And of course, budget. Budget is always a concern right now. So for us, right? So for us, in the meantime, we're able to provide some real value as occupancy starts to increase. And so obviously communication, budget, and then that confidence is really important to property managers right now.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Paige. I will ask also like Bob and Rupesh to kind of like come back because I want to share with you guys like we heard always when we heard IoT, smart buildings, smart solutions. It's kind of like feel like it's just the machine doing like cling, cling, cling and the dollars amount. So why don't you guys think that those are those key drivers to kind of like starting this adoption? Because if we think about the whole solution and you want to have everything on your kind of like on your building, what will be the steps to take to go ahead and kind of like drive that adoption into the smart buildings? I don't know, like Rupesh, you want to start and then let's go the floor.
Yeah, Liz, thanks for that. It's a very good question, and one of the things is that there's two approaches we see in the market, right? Individuals, companies go out and say, hey, I have this to offer, and, are you interested in this solution? From a Rogers perspective, our goal is to sit down with our customers, understand what are their strategies, what are their goals, pain points, areas of opportunities. You have some customers who are focused on sustainability, but these two solutions we present together can add to that sustainability goal. The Miro technologies help with reducing wastage, bring that just-in-time consumables in, right? So it's also there's wastage sustainable, but then you're reducing your costs. From the indoor air quality perspective, it's about creating a healthy environment, but you're now able to manage your HVAC system more effectively, so reduce that energy consumption. So for us, it's about going in, understanding what are my customers' goals, what is it that they want to achieve, and it's a true partnership, working hand in hand with them. We talk about IoT. There's, as you said, there's so many things you can do. A customer could say, "Oh, I want everything," but let's first start off with, what's going to give you the best return on investment, the value, help you achieve your goals, and then we build out from there. And I always like to say, Rogers is that one back to Pat. We take all these partners through a very stringent, security, privacy review process. We review even down to the level of where the data is stored. So what our goal is we build out this ecosystem, we bring these amazing partnerships together, but we're that one-stop shop where from solutions through to deployment, through post-support, you have one organization to talk to, and we work with you on your strategy and help deliver that.
Awesome. Thank you, Rupesh. Do you want to add something, Bob, of Paige, about that part of that I believe misunderstanding sometimes, that everything is extremely expensive and you just need to go and have everything super smart and super integrated to be able to start into this process?
I was going to say ladies first, but for us, we have a holistic approach. So let's look at all of your goals and priorities. You may not have to do them all at once, but it will allow you to be proactive. It will allow you to say, okay, if I did this, then what would happen? And it may be economic, it may be sustainable, it may be better reporting, it may be that you simply have better management of your facilities. So for us, it's holistic, and then look at how do we know and where do we start? The start point is relatively low cost, definitely low risk. And with Rogers, we can make it either a capital item, which most people don't have in their budget, or we can simply have it as an operating expense that's added on to your Rogers bill. So either way, we try and be flexible to ensure that you have a good starting point, a low cost starting point, and it gives you the information you need to be proactive and prioritize.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. Paige?
Yeah, I think, this smart buildings can be extremely daunting, and it's an education that's happening along with this journey. So having a consultant like with Rogers to help you through that, to understand what your goals are. And sometimes it can just be like, okay, here's my top 5 budget, right? Like, what is the most expensive thing in this building? And then how can I work towards that? And because with the amount of information that is coming at you, you need to be able to want to be able to validate it and use it beneficially, as opposed to it's just overwhelming. So sometimes that's where we sort of see people start as like, okay, here's my 5 hot buttons, right? Like, here's my biggest, there's my biggest line item. So maybe we should start there. But again, highly recommend your colleagues and a consultant that's going on these journeys, because there are trailblazers in the industry. And again, also understanding too that sometimes in the beginning it's just a one-person show. So you can't overwhelm the one person versus others that have taken an initiative to be like, no, I want a team. So now there's a team of 3 or 4 of us to be able to help digest some of this information.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We don't see any more questions on the chat. Before we finish, we would like to share our video.
The way we live and work has changed. The world is connected and always on. The buildings you manage need to evolve to keep pace. Busy tenants and employees expect homes and workplaces that are safe and responsive to their needs. Renewed focus on the environment, including regulations and incentives, makes sustainability essential, reinforcing the need for cost-effective solutions. Smart building technologies help reduce energy costs and consumption by up to 50%. You can remotely monitor the buildings you manage, receiving alerts when an intruder is detected or a component is in need of repair. This ensures that all of your staff are deployed effectively. Collecting real-time data will make property operations even more efficient, as artificial intelligence and machine learning help solve problems and allocate resources automatically. Predictive maintenance, for example, helps increase the lifespan of equipment and infrastructure, while AI-optimized systems like HVAC and plumbing significantly improve your building's efficiency. This will have a direct impact on occupants, reducing CO2 emissions, personalizing wayfinding, optimizing cleaning and sanitizing of washrooms, and enhancing security while preserving privacy. All of these solutions improve both physical and mental well-being. Businesses benefit by attracting a loyal customer base. Employers benefit from modern, sustainable amenities that keep their teams happy, engaged, and productive. Rogers for Business has joined leaders in smart building solutions to help you design, implement, and manage next-generation systems for both existing properties and new builds. Let's take your building into the future today.
Okay, I want to thank you, all of you, Rupesh, Bob, Paige, for your time today. It was amazing the way to be hearing and understanding more how we can get into that smart buildings, but being like healthy buildings at the same time. And I believe that nowadays is our key priority and key kind of like able to provide that not only for employees but also for visitors under our building. I just want to thank you for your time. It was an amazing experience, and thank you for all our attendees. This is all we have for today. But if you have any questions, if you want more detailed information to go with our consultants, that perfectly Rupesh will be happy to bring this together for any one-on-one conversation. Please, you can go to our page, rogers.com/smart-buildings, and we will be happy to help you. Thank you very much for your time today, and have a great week. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye for now.